let's talk about free SHS.
Mr. Speaker, honorable members, once again for emphasis and for the record, I, John Dramani Mahama, President of the Republic of Ghana, will not cancel the free SHS program. I will not cancel the free SHS program. I am determined to make it better by improving its implementation. And also, for the record, students who have benefited from the free SHS since its inception are about 3.4 million. The figure of 5.1 million beneficiaries, as put out by the previous administration, was an exaggerated and false narrative calculated to achieve political credit. Mr. Speaker, as promised, we have begun improving secondary school feeding, and the children are getting better quality food as I address you. Mr. Speaker, efforts to decentralize school feeding and food management include strengthening procurement and store management records capacity. Once completed, food procurement and management will be fully handed over to the secondary schools to do their own food.
That's President Mahama. So there's assurance that he will not cancel the free SHS. He will ensure that there's proper feeding in the schools. So at least we now know that review doesn't mean cancellation. We know. We also know that our children will continue going to school. We know. Now the conversation, because we're now going to, Kofi Asare and his team are doing some work, and then they will have to get all of us in a room to have a conversation, a national dialogue on our educational system, which we actually need, which I spoke about in 2021. That put all the experts together in one room. And let's talk as a nation. It's not NDC and MPP. Let's talk as a nation and have that central communication. Say, no, we have the men. Today, we know that the implementation of the thing has been shambolic. Everybody says, if you talk to key MPP people off record, they tell you, they admit that it's bad. And who is contesting the figures about 5 million and 3 million? We all know. Didn't the former education minister admit? We all know. Now watch the children in school. Watch them. We all know what the condition of food they were eating. Gari and Zotoli and all those things. Watch the children. I don't know how we got to this point where now students are now being pushed into politics. Because you remember, in the run-up to the elections, students were picked up, secondary school students, and given party t-shirts. Remember that? I complained about it. This is what we have turned our education system into. Back then, show the video. Back then, we didn't turn our education system into this. Back then, when you went to school, you went to the dining hall, you didn't care which government was in power, because you know that the standard and the quality of food that you were going to get was sacrosanct. I'm saying in this country, people have enjoyed breakfast, lunch, supper for free before, and they enjoyed snack at 4 p.m. every day, and on Wednesdays, they enjoyed 3-course dinner. Those who are above 60 and 70, they know what I'm talking about. That's where the term Akapompo comes from. They didn't think which government was in power. Even at the university level, they didn't care. How did we sink so low that secondary school students, people under 20 years, now have decided that they will politicize the food that they eat and compare and contrast governments in terms of what they... I mean, that should tell you how low we have sunk. And they say, look, we have not had this before. Now they are comparing and contrasting. At the height of COVID, we decided that we're going to do registration in the schools. Parents could not see their children in the schools, but we took registration centers to the schools and we're registering them. Somebody was campaigning, it was seen on tape, campaigning in the schools. It's a shame how we have sunk and everything has become NDC and MPP. There's no nationalistic conversation. And it is a shame. I feel bad about it. Give me a second. I feel bad about it. And I feel bad about it because, look, even the GES says, don't take phones into the schools. How did the phones get into the schools? Of course, if the phones had not gotten into the schools, we would have seen it. But how did the phones get into the schools? Who is watching? Must we politicize everything? We know the benefit of nutrition and its relation to education. We know. I'm not an expert in that field, but the little literature I've read tells me. Today, the children are comparing the food they used to eat versus what they are eating now. Why should it be so? Why should there be a basis to compare anyway? Some people went to school for 3-4 years and they experienced very bad food throughout. Some got sick, some got ill, some were hospitalized, some decided that they were not going to eat at all. Some had allergies, nobody cared about it. In our days, when you had allergies, they separated you from the whole block and they cooked special meals for you. Today, can we afford that luxury of separating people to say this one doesn't eat salt, this one doesn't eat pepper, this one doesn't eat meat, this one is a vegetarian, this one is this? Can we afford to do that? We have had it before in this country. So why can we not have it again? We have had it before in this country. Why can we not have it again?